Hey gang, what's up? And Happy New Year! Yes, I'm reviewing Saltburn. Deal with it. It's incredible. I thought I'd start this year of reviewing with a bang by reviewing one of the films that is the centre of attention at the moment after its release in November 2023. Director Emerald Fennell's second directing feature following the success of Promising Young Woman in 2020 is an encapsulating 132-minute film that features themes of obsession, desire. Many people have turned away from this film due to some of the interesting content that expresses these themes, but to those people I say sit down and hear me out. This is a truly inspired film, and if you are any form of movie lover, you need to give this one a watch. Hopefully I can talk you through why this film is a highlight of modern cinema and not bore you with camera techniques and just general praise that this film deserves. So let's get to it. Also, we've shaken some things up around here since the end of last year, so please enjoy this new title sequence. Thanks Josh and Korben for putting this together for me, it is really cool. I feel like a YouTuber now. As stated previously, Saltburn is the second film directed and written by Emerald Fennell. This feature began in the works about 7 years ago and entered production in the summer of 2022 with a November 2023 release date. This psychological thriller was brought about as an idea by Emerald Fennell due to her seeing a photo of someone licking a bathtub. A slightly strange but complex visual that in her eyes is an image of somebody wanting something they cannot have. In this film, she wanted to express themes of desire, obsession and belonging in an erotic, visually stimulated manner that portrayed the world and its harsh truths. In building her world purely around the complexities and textures of her characters, Fennell is able to demonstrate how there are no truly nice people in the world, and creates a depth that is worth the big screen. The entire film was shot on location, which adds to the authenticity and care that went into this movie. As well as writing and directing, Fennell also produced the feature alongside Josie McNamara and, surprisingly, Margot Robbie of all people. It is also crucial to mention cinematographer Linus Sandgren, editor Victoria Boydell, and musician Anthony Willis for their immaculate work on this production. I'm going to do my best in describing this film without giving too much away, as the audience's reaction to the events unfolding is what makes this film all the more worthwhile. Essentially, Oliver Quick, played masterfully by Barry Keoghan, has achieved his dreams of making it to Oxford University in 2006, but has struggled to make friends and connections. This is until he meets Felix Catton, played by Jacob Elordi, a suave and confident figure who quickly makes his acquaintance and brings him to his house Saltburn for the summer with his family. This is partially due to Oliver's downbeat family life that the Cattons take pity on. In his time at Saltburn, we see Oliver's comfort and obsession with the family grow and strip back the layers of the social standards within the household, leading to a gripping, twisted tale that will have you jumping out of your seat. Now let's go deeper into what this film is really about. As I mentioned before, the central grip of this film is obsession and desire. We all have someone or thing in our lives that drives us, and Fennell explores that hidden complexity of the relationship, not letting social boundaries get in the way and lessen the intense experience. A lot of what we see in this figure may even be our own imagination of their true intentions, which we would all never admit, but it's establishing this perspective using the framing and montages that allow Saltburn to get inside Oliver's head. Yes, Oliver isn't really a great person, and the plot does sometimes take elements to the extreme, but it's establishing that these emotions are present in everyone that's what's important here. His love for Felix in this film is more the idea of Felix rather than a romantic interest. He's obsessed with what Felix stands for and the way that he leads his life, and kind of wants that for himself. At the beginning of the film, Oliver states he's not in love with Felix, and this has been a point of contention across the media. This is due to the acts that he commits throughout the film, but I believe for maybe once in this feature, this is a time where Oliver isn't entirely lying. Oliver isn't the only one that this theme is explored through, though, as this theme of desire is sort of present in everyone in the cast. Felix desires to frame himself as a casual hero who's a king in his own world but able to give others power, whereas his mother, Elspeth, played by Rosamund Pike, has a desire of controlling the word of the house and having a new acolyte to overwhelm, and so forth. Desire is a powerful topic that's seen in the media quite frequently, but what Fennell does here to build her textured narrative is impressive. Additionally, as touched on with this theme of desire, is this theme of kindness and power. No one in the world is what we'd refer to as perfect. Everybody truly wants or needs something, so there is no one nice person. It seems to be a common trend in the media that everyone's misinterpreting Felix as this nice character. He's very much not. He may seem that way in terms of the figures that surround him and Jacob Elordi's pretty face, but under that there's this drive to strike a power balance and control the room. Felix has been brought up in this vast country house with 127 rooms and is the king of his own domain, offering what he can in a trusting smile to those he views less fortunate as he. Mainly, Felix and Elsbeth also have this disarming charm about them that really brings Oliver in and makes him comfortable and embarrassed. It's affirming their control. Finally, on the subject of themes, I want to bring up voyeurism. As well as someone's desires and power complex, this film demonstrates how quickly word can get around the house. The staff are always on guard, with the butler, Duncan, reflecting a typical Gothic archetype in clothing and emotionless behaviour towards the guests. You get the feeling that everything Duncan discovers will make its way back to Elsbeth and affirm her control of the house. It's this voyeurism also that Oliver and the audience following have of this beautiful house, like we don't belong and are constantly under watch from the vultures, picking up every piece of our clothing, physical expressions and possessions. I got a similar atmosphere in the way servants are treated in conjunction with guests and residents in Jordan Peele's Get Out. This is, to a degree, a larger scale interpretation of judgment within regular situations with friends, co-workers and general people. Naturally, everyone comes to conclusions about each other within the first 5 seconds of meeting them. Conclusions and observations of people's moods and dispositions continue even in close relationships. Fennell is making us consider every emotion and interaction with another person and really picking apart the flaws of human society. Our central characters are Oliver Quick, Felix Catton, Lady Elsbeth and Farley Studd. Since I've already discussed Oliver and Felix in the themes, I want to turn to Farley here. Farley is a cousin of Felix's that lives in the house and poses a general disdain to Oliver. To him, Oliver is creating a wedge between him and Felix, and so he lashes out in an attempt to recreate this connection. Farley is out to get Oliver at the university, especially when making Oliver get an expensive round of drinks, but becomes unstuck as soon as Oliver weaves himself closer to the family and unveils Farley as an outcast in the parents' eyes. Just like Oliver, Farley is a satellite to Felix, surrounding himself in this prominent personality to give himself worth. A similar situation can be said for Carey Mulligan's Pamela, who sits in orbit around Lady Elsbeth. That is until Oliver walks in the room and she is immediately cast out to fetch the servant. This drives her away from the family and destroys her worth in Elsbeth's eyes. For a fairly small role in this feature, Pamela is a foreshadowing of what Oliver will do to the family in the gripping hour to come in this film. Next is Felix's sister, Venetia Catton, played by Alison Oliver. As soon as Oliver arrives, Venetia is seen in a flirtatious light, draping herself around the house, in the word of Elsbeth. She, like everybody else, has a deep desire and wishes to control Oliver just how Felix does. This builds up these obsessions and allows Oliver an easy entry into the family through their entitlement and narcissism. Oliver has arrived and must be hers, which eventually leads to a very messy situation. All three of these characters are slowly overtaken by their own desires and lusts due to small and calculated actions of a stranger in Oliver. This is a beautiful and real interpretation of how control and pressure can consume the unassuming. Straight off the bat, Barry Keoghan has already proved himself a talented actor that is one to keep your eye on in the future. With his recent work in Banshees of Inisherin, Killing of the Sacred Deer, for which he was cast as this, and brutal cameo appearance in The Batman, he was definitely a fitting casting for Oliver Quick, being able to look as an open book, while also understanding nothing about him behind his eyes. His performance is intriguing and without restraint. Felix Elordi, my vote for the EE Rising Star at BAFTAs, is already making waves in the industry thanks to his performance in Euphoria. I believe he is one to watch out for in the future, as he provides a perfectly casual interpretation of Felix that identifies his want to comfort others and not draw attention to his power directly. He's always seen in the silliest clothing combinations and walks around like he owns the place. I can't go on without also mentioning the insane talent of industry veterans Rosamund Pike and Richard E. Grant as the Catton's parents, James and Elsbeth, both with considerable credits to their name. Grant is fairly laid back throughout the film until his rage and cynicism really takes over at the end. He remains the master of the house but allows his wife to take control of the social web of the inhabitants. Elsbeth, likewise, preserves and values her control and puts on a brave face in every situation, even when her husband begins to crack. Both actors deserve recognition for the dedication and understanding injected into their characters. Right, I've delayed long enough. I will definitely be using the work of this film as inspiration for my own pieces in future, as it's a visually stunning spectacle. I've always been intrigued by 4:3 aspect ratios, as the square take on the story portrays a very different light in terms of the characters and the setting. Square framing was the usual in the early days of filmmaking, but now if it's going to be used, it must be with purpose. The framing allows the shots to have a certain height and depth that wouldn't be achievable in a wider aspect ratio. In a singular shot, you're able to see floor to ceiling of Saltburn, which makes this house a character in its own right. This aspect ratio creates clear use of space and cluttered composition due to the fantastic and detailed production design. Having this beautiful establishment draped with all forms of clutter makes it feel lived in and really proves Fennell's dedication to her narrative. From hats thrown on statues to early 2000 painting replicas that reflect the cast to random Coke cans being left all over the place. There's the attention to detail here that is necessary for a film like this. The Cattons are a fully realised household of characters, and I'm all here for it. Cinematographer Linus Sandgren, known for work with Damien Chazelle on La La Land and Babylon, provides these breathtaking long shots of the house, but only when necessary. We see a shot replicated at the beginning and end of the film within Saltburn of Oliver's tour and the final scene lining up in terms of their movement. This is especially difficult for long takes, and it took them 11 times to get right. Many of the shots remain static and imposing, such as Oliver seeing Saltburn for the first time, so Sandgren only makes shots fluid when the time is right, preserving control of the feature. These shots are composed beautifully, especially in terms of their space, with some shots feeling claustrophobic between characters, especially those intimate ones where there's no room around the side of the screen to breathe, so you're in on the action. It really adds to this layer of voyeurism and uncomfortableness. Editor Victoria Boydell understood the vibe of the film and is perfectly timed with cutting to reaction shots and wides when necessary. And then the final thing with cinematography is the lighting. Many of the scenes in the house were externally lit to avoid rigging being seen and allow them to get as many shots as they could inside with natural light. Fennell also chose for many of the cast members to wear linen translucent clothing, which really lets you see their bodies and form, which adds to this nature of voyeurism. The gothic use of silhouettes is used sparingly and to effect when necessary. All of these elements are designed to create a consistent tone, and that is well executed. And overall, these prove why lighting is so important to telling your story. And that's coming from me, who has no idea what I'm doing when it comes to lighting my short films. Finally, I'd like to touch upon music, due to this soundtrack's rich use of known and new tracks. The most infamous of these is Sophie Ellis-Bextor's Bird on the Dance Floor that suits the 2007 aesthetic during the final scene, pushing forward these complex themes while wrapping you up in a light-hearted dance atmosphere. This is then juxtaposed with Anthony Willis's orchestral compositions, which set this disturbed atmosphere for the film. The strings and choral accompaniment are perfectly unsettling and set the tone of this rich world. So, if you couldn't already tell, this was definitely a highlight film for me in 2023, if not in the film repertoire I've seen generally. I look forward to seeing Emerald Fennell's work in future, as if she provides this level of depth to all of her work, she will change the filmmaking game. This is a film designed for its beauty and representation, rather than being a commercial event. 9.5 out of 10. I don't like giving full marks, but I'm very close to giving it here, so well done. This is an absolute masterpiece that I will be revisiting on multiple occasions. I feel like there's a lot that I haven't quite unpacked yet. I would advise that you watch this one alone or with someone you trust, because it does get very intimate and slightly uncomfortable at points, as intended. Definitely don't watch with parents. That's a no-go. This is not a family film. But if you have seen it, let me know in the comments and we can get a discussion going. I do want to talk about this film more, so if you like it, do let me know. As always, thank you very much for watching and supporting my channel generally. I'm hoping I can stably grow this channel over the coming year, so if you can subscribe, it would be most appreciated. We keep moving towards the 100 subscriber milestone, and when we do that, I still intend on doing the ranking of the Disney animated films. We'll get there. Hopefully. Hopefully I'm back next week with another review on a feature that's come out recently, but until then, do make sure to check out other content on this channel. Have a brilliant week, and until next time.